The SEC Big 12 Challenge, the Big 12 SEC Challenge, the last time it will be played. Let's talk about this tournament, this showcase, however you'd like to describe it. Auburn versus West Virginia, all the different matchups. Who's going to win the Big 12 SEC Challenge? We're going to talk about that starting right now. Good morning, Auburn, and thank you so much for being here. Our E2C Network family, our Auburn family, we just thank you so much for being here, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you are getting here by some other means. I don't know how you got here, but we appreciate you being here on this edition of Good Morning Auburn. As you come into the stream today, please do me a favor by making sure that you smash that like button. It is a great way to start the show. Always helps us let people know that we are live, that they can find the show, they can be a part of the show. And we'd love for you to be a part of the show if you're watching live by dropping comments and questions as you go along. In fact, let's get started right now with our check-in period. Go ahead and post where you're watching from, your city, your state, or international if you are overseas. And then obviously with the War Eagle or any way you'd like to start off the show tonight. Hopefully it's in a nice way, but any way you'd like to start doing that. That's how we're going to get the show started. Let me give you some opening thoughts here before we get into the meat of everything here. Big 12 SEC Challenge has been something that's been going on, I think, for now 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, and has become a mainstay in the SEC schedule for the majority of SEC teams. Not every SEC team has gotten to participate in every single year. Auburn's been left out a couple of years, but it is something that has been going on for quite some time for most of the teams, and pretty much everybody anticipates in the middle of their conference play to be able to participate in this. This year, Auburn versus West Virginia is the matchup. We are going to talk about that since this is an Auburn-centric show, but we're going to take a holistic look at this as well and ask the question, who is going to win the final SEC Big 12 Challenge? We know a little bit about Auburn, obviously. We know a little bit about SEC teams. We may not know as much about the Big 12, but we're going to try our best to estimate and to figure out who is going to win this basketball challenge. I usually call these type of things showcases because they're not really a tournament. They're just something completely different. Cooper, thanks for being here. Appreciate you being on the stream and checking in this morning. So that's what's on the agenda for our episode of Good Morning Auburn, just taking a holistic look at the final Big 12 SEC Challenge. So if we are going to look at it, I need to bring it up for you as well, right? So this is obviously on Wikipedia, so we go at our own risk here, but I do want to bring it up for you a little bit. And I guess I could, let me do this for you guys this morning, make it a little bit bigger. That way you guys don't have to stare at my ugly mug as much, but we can kind of look at the matchups today and see how we think this one's going to go down. Let's start with the Auburn stuff, right? Because this is an Auburn-centric channel. The matchup of Auburn versus West Virginia. West Virginia. I'm very happy that in our final SEC I keep wanting to say SEC first, Big 12 SEC Challenge, that we finally got to do Bob Huggins, right? There's a lot of famous programs or coaches that are part of the Big 12. Auburn's done Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma. They have not faced Texas, Kansas State, Kansas, and they did face Oklahoma State too. But West Virginia was one with such a famous coach like Bob Huggins that I wanted to be able to knock off this list, and we are doing that before it ends, and going to be the very first game of the day to kick off for everybody on ESPN. If you're an Auburn fan at this moment and looking at how the last game went, you're probably not feeling as encouraged, especially going on the road. My contention always is for you that we'll look at what Auburn has done every single time it has fallen this season as far as it has responded. So West Virginia in the last couple of seasons, I believe, has kind of fallen down just a little bit, which is a little bit surprising for a Bob Huggins team. But I expect my anticipation is that Auburn will win, but probably be a tough win on the road. Still ranked at number 15. We'll see how that adjusts after a loss earlier this week, and especially if they win one. If they go into West Virginia and get a convincing win on the road on the home turf of West Virginia, that should help with their situation overall. But obviously, we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of that today. Oklahoma versus number 2 Alabama. In any other year, I would have said this one would have been a opportunity for Alabama to be embarrassed. Will not be the case this year. Alabama does look very good. It pains me to say that. Obviously, being ranked number 2 overall, I don't think they're going to have too much trouble with Oklahoma, even though Oklahoma is historically a really good program. That one, the one advantage is that is in Oklahoma, and you can watch it on ESPN. Also at 2 p.m., Texas Tech, LSU. LSU's got a lot of talent. I haven't really looked at Texas Tech. They've had talent, and they've been pretty good program over the last couple of seasons. So that one may be a sneaky good matchup at 2 o'clock. Although I think out of all the 2 o'clock games, the Alabama-Oklahoma game is going to be the one that everyone pays attention to. Obviously, as Auburn fans, we will be rooting for Oklahoma and Texas Tech, seeing as those two of our rivals. But that's just the way it goes. So sorry, Bama and LSU fans. Iowa State, who's number 12, and Missouri. Missouri can be a sneaky good team thus far, so far too. I just don't know if they're good enough, and we haven't played them yet, right? Auburn hasn't played them, so I don't really know what to make up of them thus far. But Iowa State is a good program, ranked number 12 right now. This one's in Missouri, so that may bode well for them. Although I would bet that Iowa State's going to travel very well to this game. Their fans will. I would not be surprised in that, at least. So Iowa State, Missouri. So just kind of like taking a quick look at that. I expect Auburn to win, Bama to win. I'm just going to predict for now that Texas Tech is going to win that one. I don't know why. That's probably not the smart move. And I'm going to predict Iowa State is going to win that matchup with Missouri. So as it stands at this moment, I have us at 2-2 on that being the SEC versus the Big 12, 2-2 on the games thus far. Looking at the rest of them, 4 p.m., you got TCU and Mississippi State taking on each other. Mississippi State, I think, is a sneaky good team too. It is in the hump in Starkville, Mississippi. TCU ranked number 11. So what you've seen thus far is Auburn and Alabama and Tennessee are the only ranked teams. But look at all those ranked teams in the Big 12. So traditionally, you kind of see how this matchup is perceived, the Big 12 being favored, and you would find that to be the case if you looked at the history of it for the most part. But back to it, TCU versus Mississippi State. At Mississippi State, to me, just looking at it, that one screams TCU right now. TCU, I think, also who'd they embarrass recently? I can't remember. But they embarrassed somebody. And I think that's just going to prove to be a TCU win. So Big 12 in the lead. Baylor, number 17 versus Arkansas. I'm actually going to go out on a limb here. Arkansas is a very good team, very talented program. They've kind of fallen off a little bit over the past few weeks with some losses, but I've witnessed them in person. Oh, not in person. I shouldn't say that. For ourselves. And I really think that the Arkansas Razorbacks are going to be able to upset the Baylor Bears and get themselves back on the right track here, which brings us to an even 3-3 for the tournament. Moving to the 6 o'clock games. Texas, number 10. Is Texas back? They always think that they're back in every sport. Versus Tennessee. This is probably, just looking at it thus far, outside of the next one next couple we'll talk about, this is probably the matchup. Number 4, Tennessee. Number 10, Texas. This one's got huge implications for rankings, for postseason play, all that kind of stuff. Orange versus orange. This is in Tennessee. Feels like there's a lot in the SEC schools, but it's pretty even if you actually just look at it. That is probably the one everybody wants to tune in. That is probably the one everybody is most interested in this year because of the rankings, because of this perception, because of X, Y, and Z. Tennessee needs a signature win like this if they continue to win out and Alabama continues to win out, to put them up in the discussion of who's better. So if they can pull this off, who buddy, Tennessee is going to be a threat the rest of the season. So that'll be a good signature win for them. But I will predict Tennessee wins that one. So right now, the SEC is in the lead. Kansas versus Kentucky. This is the one they basically set up every year. It's like the gimme. It's one everybody wants to see because it's two blue bloods. It's on ESPN. This one's in Rupp Arena. It's going to be raucous. It's going to be loud. Kentucky's going to show up, but I think Kansas is just going to be too much for the Auburn, excuse me, well, they probably would be too much for the Auburn Tigers right now based on how we've seen them play. But for the Kentucky Wildcats, who are, for Kentucky, struggling. For Kentucky, they are struggling. So that's where I'm going to sit out on that. Kentucky does fall to Kansas, putting us back even, which brings us, my friends, to the 9th game of the night. Make sure I'm doing my math correctly. That would actually be the 9th game of the night. Right? Isn't that the 9th game? Yes, it is. The 9th game of the night, Oklahoma State at Ole Miss. This one's in Oklahoma. In my opinion, based on what I saw out of Ole Miss, the only chance that they had is if it was at home. So I think Oklahoma State gets this one very, very easily and gives the Big 12 the win, as it often has in this challenge many, many, many years. So there you have it. I predict Auburn wins, Alabama wins, Texas Tech wins, Iowa State wins, TCU wins, Arkansas, Tennessee wins. We skipped over one, guys. I am so sorry. Kansas and Oklahoma State. So that Kansas State, Florida one. I think Florida is a good team. I just don't know if they're good enough to beat Kansas State, especially in Manhattan. I don't know how I just skipped over that one. I apologize in advance. But Kansas State gets the win there. So if you look at that, counting those up, you've got, 5 wins for the Big 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that 10 games? Am I messed up here? Oh my God, my math and my eyes are not working today. So that is actually 10 matchups, it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So actually it would be Oklahoma State win. We're doing math here live on the show. Oklahoma State, Kansas, TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech. So basically it's even. So if I did that right. Either way, it's going to be a competitive matchup. It usually tends to be. A lot of people think that this one wasn't all that exciting because for the longest time it was just Kentucky and the rest of the SEC trying to beat the Big 12 teams. But what has happened in the past few seasons is the SEC play has risen up, become more competitive holistically across the board, not just Kentucky, not just maybe one other team like a Florida or someone who's making some noise overall. I mean, you've got Auburn now, you've got obviously still Kentucky, Alabama, Tennessee, and then there's usually like an LSU, there's usually a Florida, there's usually somebody that looks pretty good. Mississippi State that looks pretty from Texas A&M. It is let me point that out. The fact that in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, you have more SEC teams than Big 12 teams means somebody gets left out all the time. And so you have this year Georgia, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, and who's that 14 that I'm missing in there? South Carolina missing from this matchup tonight. So the fact that Texas A&M in the final series was not in this is a shame. It would have been fun to see a Texas A&M. That actually probably would have been a good game. Texas A&M is a scary good team. After beating Auburn, we've realized that. And so it'd be fun to watch how all that went down. So that was a overall look at how this thing might shake out. Just a little bit of a prediction show. Who wins the SEC Big 12 Challenge? Obviously, the one that we care about, the West Virginia Auburn matchup, kicking the whole thing off. I will just say some general thoughts about this. And we're actually going to probably do at some point a video about all that, the history of that with Auburn. But I'm so happy that we're getting to see this matchup and watch it. I just wish it was on prime time, but I'll take the kickoff game of the day for the Big 12 SEC Challenge. All right, a couple reminders for you as we close out the show. If there's any comments or questions, you can drop them in, and we'll cover them right before we leave. Remember, as of today, we only do the Good Morning Auburns on Monday through Fridays, but next Monday through Friday, I will be gone on vacation, but there will be a Good Morning Auburn for you to watch. Your next one, I'm going to go ahead and preview for you. I have a visitor sit down with me, and we're going to talk about not just Hugh Freeze transferring play calling over to his OC, Philip Montgomery, but several other prominent people doing that as well. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on 8:30, we've got some pretty cool topics for you, especially around the realm of recruiting that you're not going to want to miss. Special guests also they are going to appear on Tuesday, so don't miss those things if you are so inclined. Always, you want to be in the subscriber pool so that you can be part of that giveaway if you're not, and be a channel member, a booster club member if you'd like to help keep the lights on here at E2C Network Central. And there's other things, there's other ways that you can get involved helping, help support us in the description. But the biggest thing that you can do, the easiest thing that you can do is to be here and be part of our little family within the Auburn family. Cooper's dropping in a prediction of West Virginia 73, Auburn 90. I like it. I love it. I hope that's true. I just not have seen this Auburn team very often score very high like that, especially on the road. So I believe we'll win. I just hoping that our defense looks a lot better, which has traditionally been a lot better than it was last game. And that way we can get the win at West Virginia. But I will take the win. We may just disagree on how it actually happens. But thanks for sharing that. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here this morning. Thank you so much for watching on the replay, however you got here, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And I will miss seeing you live next week. But again, there is plenty of content for you to watch here while I'm gone. So keep up with that. Stay tuned in the channel because you never know what you might find. You never know when we might go live. You never know what might happen in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. So until I talk to you guys again, you guys have a great weekend and a great week next week. And let's hope we get a couple wins when I come back. We can talk about. Till then, War Eagle.